Last time we started a new street. I pointed out that we were going to put the tacky sign somewhere here and hide the electronics under the surface. There's a little, oh, I didn't see that there. That's probably not a good idea to have laying on the track if I'm going to run some trains. I haven't decided exactly where it's going. We do need to get some lights in the windows of this and work on that. We'll do that tonight. But the big picture. All right, well, from here, we've got a nothing space. In front of it, we're still at the other end of the station, so the canopy's still got to go on. Why aren't I getting on with that? Well, there's a very good reason. We'll get there. I'm waiting for bits again. It just is one of those ongoing problems I have. All of this, we need a back scene on. This track needs ballast all the way along here. The only bit that's got any scenic work at all is this little piece here. And if I take the backdrop away, it's just a piece of paper, starts to look rather bare. And if I take the hut away, we've got nothing but a tree and some excess ballast. Several trees there, actually. Now, what are we going to do? Well, this little bit here does tail off into nothing. Did you see it? This piece here does tail off into nothing. There's a big hole down there. We've got to cover that up. Good evening. Now, before I get into the specifics and start giving you a tour of the layout, hello. What's going on is something that hiding in plain sight has happened again. I'm so used to seeing a hole there that I just don't see it. It's been there for years. It's quite an awkward little space. There's a couple of trains hiding in the Fiddle yard, which is just down there. There's a 3-road Fiddle yard here. Let me see if I can show you along here. You might see it better. Well, this is one way to do it, I suppose. I'm going to drop you down in there. Camera just fits. Oh, look, you see the tunnel mouth there. The line I'm on here, this line here, is the main line trains, the really long ones. They sit, that's a single track. There is room for another track over there, but just because there's room doesn't mean you have to. That's something to remember, people. There's room down there for more tracks, but just because there's room, I'm not cramming them in. This train sits behind a fork where there are 2 others. So to get this one out, you would have to get one of the others out. But over here, there are 3 more. So this train here, this one here, can you see that one? So there's 3 trains down there, 4 trains down there. I'll show you where it all comes out. There's one of the other ends of it there. And then beyond the interesting brick wall, there's another 2 lines. There's the travelling post office, and behind that there's another train. You can just see it in the gloaming back there, you see it? So there's 2 trains under there. Now those come out there. This is, to put it in perspective, that's the station forecourt. I'm waiting for the towers that go here. They've been ages. I must look, see where they've got to. So they come out there and bypass the main station. But now that we have the station working, let me turn the lights on there for you. There you go. Now the white wall at the back there shows the Fiddle yard. And if I move over, you can just see the beginning of the mail train hiding in the background there. Do you see the Class 40 hiding? Yes. Well, since I've been sitting at the workbench, you can see that quite clearly. And in the past, there's been a wall that goes there and hides those trains. It's like a retaining wall. But with these arches here, why not continue that style? So this sort of style along the back there. It would just make the station look even more huge and heading off over there into the horizon or something, with a rather interesting 2 lines on top not stopping. So that's what I'm intending to do. So I have to build quite a longish section of arch that goes along the front of that to make some sort of viaduct. You've got the transition then between here and there of countryside and back into rock, and there we are back into our new street. So there's some context for you. Now, why not extend the street this way? Well, I may very well do that. I have the interesting interface problem otherwise. I want some countryside, but there's no reason why that can't taper off. The issue here is this then starts dipping down. This is the return line from, this is a loop. You remember the folded dog bone? This goes off and around and back again. And underneath is another loop that goes around the outside of the fiddle yard. And this line is a rather useful one that goes between the 2 loops. So it's on the way down. So this opening then, this is higher than that already by a significant margin, and by the time it gets over there you can see one track passing under the other. The gradient's about a 1 in 70, something like that. It really is quite shallow. The whole layout I tried to stay no steeper than 1 in 50. Anyway, that aside, we have a hole to cover. Make rather a nice hillside up to here. Don't want to go too high because we're at the end of the runway there. So that's the context, and really what I'm doing is I'm working this way in sections until we meet up with the end of the layout. Over in the background over there, farmland in the corner, or a castle or something. Think Oast House. This is Kent, remember? Cricket match. Kent v Sussex, and Sussex are getting a pounding. So there wasn't really quite the randomness that some of you thought there was with me starting another project. It's the same project, I'm just tackling another part of it, a part that I can actually get on with while I'm waiting for bits. As we get on with this project, you know I'm very happy with card models. These resin models are kind of expensive. I have a few of them. And there's one in particular that I've ordered for there. We'll talk about that when it arrives. But in the meantime, we've got some work to do on this. We've got to put some paint on the back to stop the light shining through, and get some curtains or something at very least before we light it. They do look well lit. You can see the light coming through there. It's quite a bright light, but let me just get closer to it and show you what the problem is. You see the resin lets lots of light through. And of course there's no individual rooms. So what we're going to do is we're going to paint the inside and make some kind of separation. Very nice windows, very clean and clear. So I do want to be a bit careful. On one hand, you want to see the white paint around the windows on the inside. If you were to just stick curtains on the inside, and I pulled a few sheets out of my craft book, but if you were just to stick a few curtains on the inside, do you see already that looks a whole lot better. We can choose. We've got a blue diamond pattern here. It's a bit washed out. Got a pink plaid. Yeah, again, not keen. I think the harsh red stripes work. Look at that. It's kind of fun. And there's still enough depth between the panes of glass and the curtains to make that work. I think I would put curtains in some of the upper windows and we'll have a bit of fun in the ground floor, shall we? There's not a lot of depth, of course. We've only got about, well, that much. It's about a scale 4 feet I've got there. So just enough for somebody to be peering from the inside out. Now 4 feet doesn't sound very much, but it is enough room to have Bob peep out. Hello. So we can have, I think we can have a bit of fun with this. There won't be room to create any additional space, but maybe a dining table or something in one window, and we'll come up with something for sure on the ground floor. Upstairs, curtains, maybe a bed. No, we're not going there. But yeah, we can do something, but we've got to get the inside painted black first. Paintbrush, NATO black. I'm gonna have to stop using, I'm actually not going to use that. I'm going to use that cheap junk other stuff. Now another thing, because of the delicate nature of this, do you remember we had the railings weren't attached when I took it out of the box? We're going to rest it on some foam. I'm going to find myself a key card. Which one shall we use? How about that one? It's a hotel key card. I'm going to pop some paint on that out of the tube here. And we can just get on painting. I want to avoid getting paint running down the hill and going in the windows. So we'll start low down. All I'm doing is painting. I'll come back to you when I'm finished. Or perhaps I'll just leave it running and speed it up a bit for you. I did well, except for the middle window above the front door. You can see, if you see the paint in there. I did it. I know I'll have to put some white paint on that at some point. But other than that, I think we're in good shape. You can no longer see light shining through the bricks. Love it. Good. Before I get paint all over the place, I'm going to set it down to dry. Now you might have heard me refer to this end of the room as the junky end. Well, that's because all the building materials are hiding under that end of the bench. I do move things around from time to time, and way up there, all kinds of skullduggery has been going on. Been having a really big think about that end, and eventually we're going to have to replace all of that. Part of the reason, in fact a fundamental reason, is these two curves here are both second radius. That one up there, second radius on a curve. In there's a couple of curved points heading to the station down here. But the bigger thing is that really that station needs doing right. You don't really have an option of reaching over there. So an underground station for sure. Then what's the Southern Electric doing down there? So we're going to make that into an underground station, and then the 4-car electrical multiple units, you'll see through the arches, maybe heading off somewhere else. How big is it? It's 2 feet deep and 9 feet wide, so just bigger than the 8 foot by 2 foot sections that I have, but we'll make it work. Going to reroute for the English, the upper deck over the lower at that point to bring it forward and allow me some modeling space back there. One of the things I'm noticing is that you can very easily find these quite nice card models, but majority of them are low relief. If you're actually making something that's out here a bit, hard to find anything. Which is why I was so very happy with the shop and the pub. Some of the few models that are out here. You can get them, of course. And the airport, which needs a paint job and who knows what else. But by leveling that down a little bit and bringing it out, there'll be a much bigger surface area to build city or town on. There's some quite nice scenes up there. The buskers and the policemen watching them. The roadworks going on there. The skullduggery going on at the Crown at Anchor. So plenty going on over there. The single biggest problem up there is the tram line. I was very clever. I was very proud of myself. I routed out a channel wide enough to take a long piece of flexi track that wends its merry way through the village scene. And then I filled it up with plaster. There should be a big alarm bell sounding right about now. And then painted it. It looks great, but of course plaster gets everywhere. So these poor trams have routinely had to have plaster dug out of them. They're not very English trams either, are they? We'll come up with something. You can get English trams, they're just not motorized, and I'm not sure I know how to do it. We'll buy one at one point and find a cheap one and see what I can come up with. You never know. The one thing about these trams is that the motor and four-wheel arrangement is very, very simple. But I've noticed even on something as simple as that, most of the time you can't see the wheels. Now, English trams tended to have bogies front and back, but I don't know, maybe we'd get away with it. I don't know. Can't even see the wheels on that. Oh, look, this one's got bogies. Now, who knew? I did not know. And that's motorized. So we may be able to do a little butchery and get an English tram working. A lot of people worry about the pantograph. Believe it or not, this pantograph, you can actually run the tram on it. You see the U on the end, it goes over a wire and actually conducts, and you can hook the inside up to one of the motor connections. But if you look at the Kingsway underpass there in London, you can still see the slot in the middle where there was I don't know quite what it looked like. I must do some research and find out, but a very clever way of connecting to power in the ground, even though they had pantographs for most of the time. So yeah, interesting, but it doesn't go very far at this point. So for right now, it just runs from there about, I don't know, 5 or 6 feet down to the end there. But if we get this right, we could bring it certainly around the corner. If it were, I don't want it going up and down hills because they just don't do hills well, but certainly with that piece of cardis against the wall there, around the corner through the town, and we'll get a little bit of extra depth on it. But yeah, I'm just thinking out loud. It's not happening anytime soon. All those thoughts are that way, and we're heading in this general direction first. So I would say several months before we get down there. One of the things about lights in buildings, certainly in a city, is usually the lights aren't all on. So one or two of the windows perhaps would be blanked out where somebody's gone to bed early or something. But if you were watching, then one or two of the rooms would go out. In a house, perhaps you might have somebody going to the bathroom in the middle of the night, and so as the lights go down, one comes on. I've been thinking about that. It might be too much detail for a simple model railway, but I'm certainly thinking about it. Do you just put a long timer with a short blip blip off or on if it's the bathroom light? What do you do? Do you have central place somewhere? Maybe this is where the Arduino kicks in. It's a thought, isn't it? But anyway, some lights that actually do come on and off. This particular street, I intend to use these high quality resin models rather than trying to mix and match with the card models. I'm perfectly fine with the card models. I just think you're asking for trouble trying to mix and match. Some of my butchery over here, for example, these look perfectly fine to me, even though some of the sides are just, the drain pipes are just printed, for example. The issue would be if you stuck something like this. I believe this is Super Quick. This is certainly Metcalf. They're my favorite. But if you tried to mix these with the resin models, you would see a big difference, I think. Certainly want to get this area here finished. If I were starting again, you've heard me say that often, this runway would be further over, so we're not so close. I may make it a little narrower and paint out the side. But we've got to make some more of this barbed wire fence, so I'll show you how to do that again. We've already done that, but I'll make some more to go around the rest of the airport. We need to disguise the edge of the placemat and get this area a little finished. All the way at the back, I want to put a farm, an oast house or something. The cottages I've just finished are sitting over here in readiness, in anticipation. So yeah, a good bit to do. There's a very deep cutting down there too, which for right now is meaningless. It used to be part of the turnaround. That's the other bit of the return line from the upper loop to the lower loop. So a good bit of work to do over here. We will get there. So yeah. For those of you who can't wait for the next electronic project, there's a pulse width modulation circuit coming. That's how you dim LEDs. It's just a case of sit down at the bench and put it together one time for you. I'll do that in the next couple of weeks, I expect, just to show you how it works. The traffic lights too. There's been a good bit of interest in how do they work. It's very easy, but I haven't shown you, so I will. I'm trying to hold the camera still until they change. But these traffic lights change, there they go. They change on the English change sequence. Do you see the red and amber on together before the green? How do you do that? Well, it's not difficult, but I'll show you. And if you wanted the American version instead, hello all my fellow American viewers, thanks for watching. It's one diode different on each side, so that's not difficult. Very simple circuit. Believe it or not, that is controlled by the same circuit, there you go, that is doing this. So it's a very versatile little circuit, very cheap, easy to do. Yeah, I'll show you how it works. So that's what I do when I'm waiting for paint to dry. Another thing I did the other day was to look at wagons, not these. I've had these, most of these anyway, for decades, and they look fine. But I wanted to put a rake of coal wagons together. These are, I think I've got 3 or 4 of these. There's 4 of them here, so I've got more than that. These are really old, and I use them as tool storage and so on. When I'm making things on the layout, I put this on the track and run it around. I've got all the bits I need then right there at my fingertips. So I really do make a works train. But I was looking at the price of them. I thought, you have got to be kidding me. I'm not going to be a whiner about the price of things because stuff goes up. But I saw one not dissimilar to that with Tilmerston colliery on it. I thought, oh my word, that fits perfectly. Then I found another. I thought, well, why can't you just buy a whole bunch of those and make a rake out of them? And I then realized they've put numbers on them. So now you would have to have, well, of course you wouldn't. I would have to change the numbers. Now then, I have had a little look and tried to work out the bauxite brown ones I just showed you are later than the grey ones. I thought it was the other way around. We saw, and yes I saw, running through Dover, Deal, that way, on the way, so between Deal and Dover in the southeast, used to be the turn off for Betsanger Colliery. Now, I know these were fitted, see I'm learning stuff, the detail on these won't be there. So these were supposedly later, and the grey ones were not. They were much earlier. And in theory, should have been before I could remember. But we used to see them clanking through Deal Station on the way to presumably Betsanger. So I'm guessing that they were either refurbed that were just going to the coal mine itself, or they were just painted the wrong colour. We saw hundreds of them. I mean, they were there, whether or not they were correct, or whether they'd been to Ashford or something for repairs, but they would come through quite frequently. Now, the coal from there used to go, I believe, to Richborough Power Station before it closed. So what I was trying to do, a long way of saying what I was trying to do was put a rake of those together. At 30 quid a pop? No. No. I'll make these work. Yeah, we'll make these work. I've got a few of them. I kind of wanted a long train, a longish train that looked all the same. But there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 there, isn't there? We can make an irregular train. These are certainly not the same era. But 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 there. There's another 4 there, although that one's a bit of an odd one out. Is that 3 plank? It's 4 planks, that's weird. There's a few of these around. Now this is Hornby. I know this one's Hornby. Wonder why it doesn't say on the bottom. This one I'm sure will. Yeah, this is Hornby. This doesn't say. Doesn't matter. I like the look of these two. Surely I can find them. We would see something like this clunking through as well, but mostly these were out of Dover heading the other way. So we really didn't get these down at Walmer, Deal, Sandwich. We didn't get these kinds of wagons so much down there. I see there's one that's different, Great Western there. But you see from viewing distance when this thing's clanking along, it's quite special. I remember buying these at there were 5 of them. Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 5. There were 5 of them. I bought them on the same day. It was the most wagons I'd ever bought in one go. I bought them at a preserved railway, and they had 5 of them. And the woman behind the counter said, "You need to leave some for somebody else." I thought, I was doing you a favour buying them. But yeah, the things we do. But yeah, they are expensive. You put a rake of wagons together at 30 quid a pop, or 25 and shipping, and you got 10 of them, that's 300. That's getting up there. Yeah, ouch. Anyway, enough of me whining. We'll see what we can get running. Well, let me let you into one of the secrets of video. Sometimes we shoot things in the wrong order. I was going to get on with the hotel room fitting, and a parcel arrived. And earlier in the video today, I talked about waiting for the towers to arrive. Well, they're here, so now I've got to fit those. One goes here somewhere. They look quite smart. There's 4 of them. Let me put you over here and I'll show you what I have in mind. Well, since this area is a little bit of a works area, I figured, you should probably have a yard light or 2. That's 1. Certainly 1 in here beyond the engine shed. If this really is a engine servicing yard. And then I had intended to put 1 in here. Now it's going to be interesting. I'm going to have to clear some ballast there. Let me hold one still so you can see what they look like. They're not too bad. They're about the right height. They're through the board. Now, here's the thing. My board's thicker than that thread is long. So I'm going to have to come up with some jiggery-faffery to make that work. We'll come up with something. Well, I must apologise. I really didn't want to go rabbiting on for half an hour about what the future plans are. So we're going to run some trains, if that's all right with you. We've got a couple of underground trains out on the main line. I had to move those out there when I was programming the Class 40. You see, this is what happens when I'm waiting for paint to dry. I think I may have been inhaling the fumes or something. Seriously, the paint is dry. I've cut a couple of pieces of floor. I've got a couple of people. I've started on some tables. So the intent is to put a table, these are a scale couple of feet, with a person sitting either side of it. I don't know, something like, you have to turn over, ma'am, there we go. And you'll see them from outside quite clearly. So people sitting having a meal. I thought that would be clever. But we're not doing that tonight. No. We're going to run this one, since I've been yakking on about it. I do note that the front hook is missing. I found one on the track a few weeks ago. I know where it is, but it isn't that one. So stuff happens. First thing then, let's get the underground trains off the main and into somewhere they can park for the night. Alrighty, come on. These really do run very sweetly, I will say. Let's push it down the far end there so we can get the other one in behind it. Come on. Crawling along there. Must do something about the third rail soon and find some fourth rail. Almost impossible to find in small quantities here. I love the little flicker. It has met the other train. There we go. An 8-car set, which we didn't have in real life, of course. Well, I think I've got everything set. Let's have a look. Oh, that looks nice. There's one of the, makes me want to light those carriages. That's just a light from the station shining through a window. It's quite a scene under there, isn't it? With the Class 40 hiding in the background and the Merchant Navy and then the travelling post office. Let's see if this tank engine can spoil everything. Nope, it's behaving itself. Yeah, I do like the look of this station, and once we get a yard light out there, we can turn the lights off. I think it looked lovely. Need a proper fiddle yard somewhere. We've got to be able to park some trains without having them sitting all over the place, one behind the other. Either that or I've got to stop buying trains. That would be the other way of doing it, wouldn't it? Let's build a fiddle yard then, shall we? Now, I'm going to let this run around a little bit while I round up as many wagons as I can find easily without digging through boxes, and we'll go from there. See what I've already got. Love it. And other than the 9-volt battery laying on the street in the distance there, my new favourite scene. Lovely. Now, if I got all the points right, the TPO won't get rear-ended, but the goods will come right along beside it. I got it right. Look at me. Well, there we go. One of the wagons had no wheels, it turns out, but that looks all right to me. I was trying to remember why there were no wheels on that, but I found one of the sets. You might be able to see rather rucked up and covered in plaster. I think I used this poor wagon to clean out the tracks for the tram. Is there any reason why a gronk can't pull wagons? Can't think of one. Those lights are looking remarkably dim. Must be the battery I'm using is running out. Must get the power supply hooked up. There you go, a gronk flying through the station at nightmarish speed. Rather lovely to see a little bit of freight trundling around the layout for once. You know why I'm doing this. Somebody said I was passenger heavy. Well, it's true, I'm a passenger guy. But I do have a few goods wagons. And yes, we had TPOs. I think they went into Ashford. They weren't in that livery when I was a kid. They were blue and grey, but we had them. Looks like it's struggling up the hill there. It's doing very nicely for itself. There you go, it's even on the right side of the track for a minute or two. Lovely. That is as fast as that poor little 08 can go to get out of the way of that steam engine coming up behind it. We're about to see a little bit of a race running up this hill, just saying. I switched the 8 off the track the steam engine was going to be on. Inevitable. Well, I hope you enjoyed the ramblings and bit of a running session here. See you next time.